Welcome to lesson 6 of Java, where we're going to be talking about the math class, which is not like taking a math class. It is using a class that is pre-built into Java that is going to help us do mathematical calculations, much like your calculator would do, except we're going to do them in the computer instead. So go ahead and set up your lesson 6 Java project with your lesson 6 class in here. Yes, it's the same kind of class that we're using for math class. But the nice thing is that Java already has this class built in, so we don't have to create it, we just get to use it, which is even better. And the way that you would use the math class is if you're going to set up like a double P. You would use it the same way we did when we would call in like a substring. So we do math dot, and then we're going to do a square root. So it's the same thing as square root, but without any vowels. So it kind of looks like squirt, but it's not. So I'm going to put in like 17, and then we're going to close our parenthesis. So if we had done like square root of 16, that's an int, so we could have made this an int. But because 17 is not going to give us an int, and most square roots of numbers are not going to give us an int, it's usually safer to go with a double. So let's go ahead and print P and click run, and it actually gives us a double, which we were looking for. Yay! So we have some vocabulary that we have to talk about for the math class. The first is method, and the second is signature. So the method is going to be what we're telling our program to do. So in this case, our method was square root. The signature is how you set something up. So here's what we're going to be looking at for this. If you look at page 30 in your textbook, we have a breakdown of the different types of methods that's used by the math class. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen clipping of that into my notes, because these are the ones that you're going to have to remember. I wish description was tabbed over a little bit. But anyway, so like what we just used was the square root. So our square root was the method name, and we formatted it like double square root, and we put a double in there basically. It can be any number. So this is just how you would set up your code to achieve this method. So each of these signatures are set up first with a type, like int, double, int, double. A long is just a long double, basically. The method name, which would be anything from our method, and then whatever parameter it requires. So like if we're doing a min, we need 2 values because you need to determine which one's larger. If you're doing a power, we have to determine which one's the base and which one's the power. Whereas if you're doing like absolute value, you just need the one number. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a comment on top here just so we can know what this does. Now we're going to play with some of those things that we found in that class. So let's start with calculating the absolute value. So if you look at what we need for absolute value, you can use either an int or a double depending on what you have. So it can be either way. So let's do int y equals negative 36. Now if we look at our signature for it, we have to do int absolute value of whatever we're printing. So go ahead and come to the next line, and we're going to do a system.out.println. And since this is already set up as an int, we can just say print math dot absolute value, which is abs. And the nice thing about Eclipse is it tries to finish your work for you. It can be annoying at times, but it's very convenient if you don't remember what you should put in. So let's just put in y. Close your parentheses and end with a semicolon. So it should do the absolute value of negative 36, so it should give us positive 36. All right. Now, if this were a double, which we can change that to a double, and it was negative 36.8, leave that the same, run it, and it gives us positive 36.8. So abs can be either a int or a double. Next up, we're going to try an exponent. All right, so for raising to an exponent, we could do something like double z equals. We would do math.how, and we need two things that we're going to do. So we need a number we're going to raise it to. So this would come out like 3 squared. And then we'll print that. And it should give us 9. So since it's a double, it gives us 9.0. But let's make this a little bit more complicated because we could do 3 squared in our heads. So I'm going to do this as a to b because the first number is usually a and the second number is like b. So we'll do 3.3 to 2.2 power. Go ahead and run it. That's a little bit more complicated, not so much able to do it in our heads. Now you could also do this if you set up like double A equals 3.3, double B equals 2.2, and change these to A and B. So you can do variable naming to do this too. It doesn't have to just be with numbers. You could set your numbers up as variables and then run it. And while we have A and B set up, let's test out min and max. So we'll do system.out.println. We'll do math.min. And it already gives us A and B because that's the default. So let's do that. Then do the exact same thing, system.out.println math.max. Again, gives us A and B. That was easy. And then run. So of A and B, B is smaller. So in our min, it gives us 2.2. In our max, A is larger, so it prints out A. Go ahead and click save if it's not grayed out. And then you are now ready to move on to the second video for lesson 6.